From the outside, just a small wooden box on wheels. Honestly, kind of boring. The kind of thing you'd drive past on a country road and never look twice at. But the second that door opens, your brain is going to short circuit. Because what's packed inside this thing shouldn't be physically possible in under 400 square feet. A vaulted ceiling, a full kitchen, a soaking tub, smart home tech. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you the exact design trick that makes a tiny house feel twice its actual size, and most builders still don't know it. So if you've ever looked at your mortgage or your rent or your overflowing closet and thought, there has to be a better way to live, you need to watch this whole video because the ending is going to change how you see small spaces forever. Before we step inside, if you've ever dreamed of escaping rent, mortgages, or just owning less stuff, hit subscribe right now because I'm breaking down real tiny homes every single week, and trust me, today's reveal might be the best one yet. Okay, let's open that door. Let's start outside because this is where most people get it completely wrong. When you hear tiny house, your brain probably pictures a shed with a window cut into it. Maybe something thrown together with leftover plywood. That's the old stereotype, and honestly that's how the movement started over a decade ago. But tiny houses in 2026 don't look like that anymore. Not even close. This one has a standing seam black metal roof. Cedar siding that's already starting to silver beautifully in the sun. Black framed windows that look like they belong on a boutique cabin in the mountains, not a trailer. There's a small covered porch out front with just enough room for 2 chairs and a coffee mug. If you saw a photo of just the outside, you'd guess this was a $400,000 lake house, not a home you could legally tow behind a pickup truck. And that's intentional. Builders figured out that the exterior is the first impression, and first impressions sell. So they stopped cutting corners on curb appeal, even on homes this small. Now let's talk money for a second because I know that's what you're really here for. Depending on size, materials, and whether it's a DIY build or a professional one, tiny house pricing in 2026 swings wildly. A professionally built tiny home on wheels typically costs $70,000 to $150,000, with most buyers landing somewhere between $80,000 and $130,000 for something fully finished and ready to live in. If you're willing to get your hands dirty, the number drops fast. DIY builders generally spend $17,500 to $57,000, while professional builds run $41,000 to $87,000 or more depending on quality and complexity. Most tiny home projects in 2026 fall somewhere between $30,000 and $90,000 once you factor in materials, site conditions, and customization. That's still a fraction of a traditional home. But here's the thing, the price isn't even the most interesting part. The real magic happens the second you step through that door. So let's go. Door opens. And immediately, nothing about this feels small. The ceiling doesn't stop at 8 feet like you'd expect. It climbs. Vaults upward into an open loft space, which instantly tricks your eyes into thinking the room is twice its actual footprint. Natural light is flooding in from oversized windows positioned exactly where you'd want them. Over the kitchen sink, beside the bed, above the reading nook. There's no dark, cramped corner anywhere in this house. The kitchen isn't a mini kitchen either. It's got a full-size induction range, a real refrigerator, deep farmhouse-style sink, and enough counter space to actually cook a meal without elbowing the wall. The bathroom has a walk-in shower and a soaking tub, which, in a house this size, genuinely feels like finding a secret room in a video game. So how did they do this? Here's the trick almost nobody talks about. Builders in 2026 stopped designing tiny houses like shrunken versions of cramped apartments, and started designing them like full-sized homes that just happen to be built smaller. That's a completely different mindset, and it changes everything. Vertical space does most of the heavy lifting. Instead of a bedroom eating up square footage on the main floor, the bed goes up into a loft, freeing the entire ground floor for living space. Walls between rooms basically disappear. The kitchen flows directly into the living area with zero wasted hallway space, because hallways are square footage you're paying for but never actually living in. Then there's the furniture trick. Every single object in this house is doing at least 2 jobs. That bench by the window? Lift the cushion. Storage underneath for shoes, blankets, whatever. That staircase leading up to the loft? It's not just stairs, every step is a pull-out drawer. The dining table folds flat against the wall when it's not in use. Even the headboard in the loft has built-in shelving and charging ports. Nothing in this house exists for just one purpose. And the doors? Notice there isn't a single swinging door anywhere except maybe the front entrance. Everything else is a pocket door that slides directly into the wall. A swinging door needs a few square feet of swing clearance that you can never use for anything else. A pocket door needs 0. In a house this size, that's not a small detail, that's reclaiming an entire usable corner of the room. Now here's the part that genuinely surprised me when I started researching this. This isn't just a cute little cabin with clever furniture. It's basically a smart home shrunk into a box. Smart home technology has become especially powerful in tiny houses because efficiency gains here are instantly noticeable. When your entire living space is a few hundred square feet, every watt and every gallon of water actually matters in a way it never does in a regular house. Plenty of newer builds now come standard with real-time dashboards that show exactly how much energy and water you're using at any given moment. You can literally watch your consumption drop when you switch off a light or shorten a shower. And because these homes are often mobile or sit somewhat isolated compared to a typical neighborhood, advanced security systems have become a standard feature rather than an upgrade, which makes sense because a home you can tow is also, in theory, a home someone else could try to tow. But maybe the most interesting shift is how the entire industry has redefined what luxury even means. For years, tiny houses were marketed as the sacrifice option. You give up space to save money. That framing is dead in 2026. Luxury tiny house models now prove that luxury isn't about square footage anymore. It's about premium materials and quality design fitted into a compact footprint. Materials are chosen specifically because they age well and require minimal upkeep, not just because they look good on day one. And bathrooms? They used to be the most compromised room in any tiny house. Tiny shower, no tub, barely room to turn around. Not anymore. Bathrooms are increasingly becoming standout spaces in their own right, rather than rooms people simply tolerate. That soaking tub we saw a minute ago? That's not a one-off, that's becoming the norm in higher-end builds. Even sustainability has shifted from a nice-to-have to a baseline expectation. Environmental performance is now treated as a core requirement rather than a bonus feature, because it directly affects both operating costs and resale value down the line. So when you see solar panels or rainwater collection on a tiny house today, that's not just for the Instagram photo, it's a financial decision baked into the build from day one. Quick detour because this matters a lot if you're actually considering one of these for yourself. Not every tiny house is meant to move. There are really two completely different paths here, and a lot of people don't realize that going in. Mobile tiny houses on wheels remain popular largely because they come with simpler zoning rules in many regions. If it's classified as an RV or trailer, it often sidesteps a lot of the red tape that a permanent structure would face. That flexibility is a huge part of the appeal. You're not locked into one plot of land for life. On the other hand, permanent tiny houses are gaining ground too, especially as more municipalities expand ADU-friendly regulations. ADU meaning accessory dwelling unit, basically a legal small home built on the same property as a bigger house. Think, tiny house in the backyard rented out or used for a family member. That route usually means more permits and more upfront approval, but it also means more stability. Nobody's towing your house away in the middle of the night, and it typically counts as real property, not a vehicle. Which path is better really depends on what you want out of it. If freedom and mobility matter most to you, wheels make sense. If you want something that adds long-term value to land you already own, permanent foundation is usually the smarter move. Okay, now I have to slow down for a second because if I ended the video right here, I'd be doing you a disservice. Every other tiny house video stops at, look how cool this is. I'm not going to do that to you. Because tiny houses are not the magic financial loophole the internet makes them look like. There are real, often hidden costs that catch people off guard. Let's go through them honestly. Permits alone can run anywhere from $500 to $3,000, depending on your city and whether you're building mobile or permanent. Utility hookups, water, electric, sewer, can range from $2,000 all the way up to $35,000 if you're connecting to a remote piece of land with no existing infrastructure. That's a massive range, and it's almost entirely dependent on how far you are from the nearest utility line. Then there's the ongoing stuff people forget to budget for. If you don't own land, you're looking at land rental costs of roughly $200 to $600 a month just to legally park your house somewhere. And yes, tiny houses need insurance too. Expect somewhere between $500 and $1,500 a year depending on your location and whether it's classified as an RV or a dwelling. And here's the big one, the one that stops a lot of people before they even start. Roughly 40% of urban municipalities still impose zoning or regulatory restrictions on tiny home construction. That means in a huge chunk of cities, you genuinely cannot just buy land and drop a tiny house on it. You need to check local codes first, every single time before you spend a dollar, because the rules vary block by block in some places. If you're building yourself instead of hiring a builder, know what you're actually signing up for. DIY tiny house builds typically require somewhere between 800 and 2,000 hours of skilled labor. That's not a weekend project. That's months of your life, often nights and weekends stacked on top of a regular job. So here's the honest version of this story. Tiny houses are not, by one, save $1 million problem solved. They're a genuine lifestyle decision with real trade-offs, real paperwork and real planning required. But, and this is important, even with all those hidden costs factored in, tiny homes can still come in up to 90% cheaper overall than a conventional home. That gap is so large that even after permits, insurance, land rental, and utilities, the math usually still works heavily in your favor compared to a traditional mortgage. Here's why I think this trend isn't going anywhere, and honestly why I think it's only getting bigger from here. This isn't some niche internet fad anymore. It's a legitimate, fast-growing global industry with real money behind it. The global tiny homes market was valued at roughly $23.49 billion in 2026, and it's projected to grow to $32.01 billion by 2035. That's billions of dollars of investment, all betting on the same idea we just watched play out inside that front door. People want less space, less debt, and more freedom without giving up comfort to get it. And the technology is only going to keep improving. Industry forecasts suggest factory-built tiny homes could see 3 to 5% annual cost moderation as production scales up, meaning the price of entry might actually keep dropping over the next few years, even as the homes themselves get more advanced. Meanwhile, custom and site-built tiny homes are trending in the opposite direction, becoming more expensive as buyers demand more personalization. So the gap between mass-produced tiny house and bespoke tiny house is only going to widen. So if you're someone who's been sitting on the fence about this, genuinely, the math, the technology, and the design have all matured to a point where this isn't a sacrifice anymore. It's a legitimate alternative. So let's bring this all the way back to where we started. Small, almost boring box on the outside. A full, genuinely beautiful home on the inside. That's the entire trick. Vertical space instead of horizontal sprawl, furniture that does double or triple duty, doors that disappear into walls instead of stealing floor space, and smart technology that makes every square foot count. It's not free. It's not a loophole. But it is one of the smartest, most thoughtfully designed housing movements happening anywhere in the world right now, and most people walking past one on the street still have no idea what's actually waiting behind that front door. If this blew your mind even a little bit, smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people. And if you want to see more looks normal until you step inside reveals just like this one, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because next week's house is even crazier than this one. I'll see you in the next video.